In today's field of films, I think Last Detail is one of the stronger ones in today, in any time. We had problems with the studio. They were afraid of the language, that film had never come out with that raunchy language yet, but it was real and it was honest. Nicholson was unbelievable, and Randy Quaid was terrific. He was a goofball sailor, so it was a wonderful experience.
Boy, it's colder than witch boob, ain't it? Coffee? Yeah.
Let's make it.
Jerry Ayers, my friend who produced Cisco Pike, called me one day and asked if I'd be interested in doing a film with Hal Ashby, who had a really good reputation at the time. Enough of a reputation that I didn't want to do the film because it was a crazy one. He'd work all night and worked in his home, which meant the editor really didn't have any freedom at all. The editor would go out to get a bite to eat and Hal would recut everything. So no, I didn't want to do it. And he didn't want me either. He said, Bob, that guy's too fast. I don't want somebody that works that quickly, that they don't catch everything they should. So good, we don't have him. Talk about me. So they went back east to start shooting. They shot one day. The editor that they hired put something together, edited something, I don't know what it was. But Hal saw it and blew his top. He said, I don't want that man touching my film again. Don't let anybody cut anything. So it all piled up, and when they finished shooting, came back, I get another call from Jerry Ayers. He's saying, please, Bob, come and look at, we've got a couple hours of master takes strung together. I want you to see it. So I go look at it, and it was terrific. It was something I had never seen before. I saw actors who were no longer actors. To me, they were people, and they were real people. They had major problems, and they had wants and needs, and it wasn't a movie. These dailies were not a movie, they were real. I would look at these master shots, and one in particular where the three sailors are in a hotel room trying to decide who gets the bed and bedding down, and it just goes on and on and on as they cannot set these cheap hotel beds up, and it's hilarious. All the way through the dailies there are scenes like that where you let the camera run and let these guys make fools out of themselves. It was great. One scene where they're in a parking lot at night drinking beer. I'm sure they were smashed. I don't think they could have acted that drunk. It was honesty, and just a pleasure to see, and it was the kind of film that I've been wanting to do since I started in the business, that style of film.
Prisoner, on your feet.
Hal would, on some of these master shots, just let the camera run. He wouldn't say cut. He'd just let them go.
Cheer up.
I said, I'll do it. So I went to meet Ashby in his home, and he seemed good. He seemed like an okay guy. But it was still going to be a major decision on my part whether I wanted to dive into somebody who was really crazy. But he wasn't. He really respected my work. He did not go near it, to the best of my knowledge. I don't think he went near it at all. And it turned out to be one of the most rewarding editing assignments I've ever had. There's a scene near the end in the snow where Randy Quaid tries to run away, tries to escape. There's a long, long master where he's running. He falls. Nicholson falls on top of him. Mulhall falls on top of the two of them. Nicholson's hitting Randy in the head with a pistol, all from the long shot. He covered it in tight angles, which I used a couple of quick cuts of, but then dropped back to the long shot because I felt in that shot I see pain, I see somebody fighting for their freedom. It spoke to me a lot more than cutting into normal handheld shots of a fight. Also, I tried in that film it felt like a road picture to me. So I felt like trying long, slow dissolves, going from one place to another. And maybe they were overused, I don't know. Not everybody liked them, but I did. I liked them, and I liked the imagery of the superimposers. Some of it came out like it was planned. Nothing was planned in that, but it felt like it was planned. There's one scene where Mulhall chews out Jack Nicholson for giving the kid, Randy Quaid, too much freedom and too much hope. There was a scene that went on way too long. So in shortening it, I thought, what the hell, I've used the dissolves before, I'll try them in the middle of the scene.
I consider myself in jeopardy with you, man. Understand? In jeopardy. This ain't no farewell party, and he ain't retiring. Understand? He's a prisoner, and we're taking him to the jailhouse. And you have a tendency to forget that. You're a menace, man. You ain't no simple shit badass. You're a motherfucking menace. And from now on, MA can go piss up a rope. You ain't no honcho. And I want to hear no more of this horseshit psychology jive. No more turning that boy's head around to prove what a fucking big man you are. You're a lifer like me. The Navy's the best thing ever happened to me. And I don't want you to fuck me up. You understand?
So I tried him in the middle of the scene and had the dialogue working in a strange way. It's something that went from like 4 or 5 pages in the script to 1 page on film. I saw the film at a film festival somewhere, and this scene came up, and I went, who the hell did that? And then I realized I did. But so different to try and shorten a scene by using these long dissolves, shorten the dialogue scene by using these long dissolves, and playing a lot of it on Randy Quaid, who wasn't saying anything. It was quite effective, I think. The photography on Less Detail was special. Michael Chapman worked with low levels of light. Some of the train stuff was wonderful. It would have cost more to do it in LA because they would have used more electricity plugging the lights in.
You're chanting.
It saved money on their power supply because they didn't use many lights. It didn't look like they did. Sound was another thing. Several areas were covered by sound, but covered by background noise, but I didn't want to loop or ADR anything, so we didn't. Just did the best with what we had. Sometimes you can't understand it, but it's real. So I think that had a bearing on the reality of the film also.
Now look what you made him do.
With Nicholson, there's a scene in the train where he's thinking about, actually it's a scene that precedes the one I was just mentioning with all the dissolves, where Nicholson is sitting in the train car thinking about the detail they're on and how much he hates the Navy, and the close-up in his eyes, and you see that hatred. I don't know how Nicholson can control his eyes like he does, but it's very effective, and it's great for me to use in editing. Shots like that tell a story through a man's face. Hal Ashby was an Oscar-winning editor. He never had the Oscar engraved with his name on it because he wanted to be able to honestly say he couldn't remember what picture he got it for. But he was one of the better editors of the time. He was terrific. films like the Thomas Crown Affair, where they worked with split screens, which hadn't been done up to that time. He had a wonderful vita as an editor. But I didn't have a problem working with him. We got along great. I did not think of him as an editor. He would take too long to make up his mind. It's not my DNA to sit there and fuss about it and go back and forth and back and forth. It is in his, and our two ways of work are drastically different, but we both come to pretty close to the same conclusion. I never, and I'm asked about this, or I have been asked about this several times, how it is working with an editor, how it is editing with a top editor. And I really didn't feel I certainly didn't feel competitive with him. I felt more like we were a team, and it was a good feeling. I wouldn't have stayed with him if I didn't feel that. The first cut on Last Detail was about 4.5 hours, because I used all this stuff that wasn't meant to be used, all this off-the-cuff dialogue, and sometimes whole scenes were unwritten, and they were just playing them as they wanted. So we had to get it down to a releasable length. Although Hal liked the first cut, the 4.5-hour version. He liked it a lot, so that made me feel good. So we had to shorten it massively to get it releasable. It was not easy. It was not easy to trim these scenes down and still have the story work. So it took a lot of try this, try that, try this, try that. A lot of experimentation with the film, in the editing, to get it to play and get it to make sense and not lose the soul of the film. So we shortened scenes quite a bit, but I don't think we dropped any scenes completely. I think we used pieces of scenes, but we didn't make huge lifts. We finally got it down to 2 hours. We took it to Santa Barbara to preview it, which is a fairly conservative little spot, beautiful and conservative. About half the theater emptied out by the time we'd played 5 or 10 minutes. Half the theater walked out, wanting their money back. Then the theater projection system, the interlock broke down, so we were running picture and track separately, and it wouldn't hold sync. So it started going out of sync. I'd run up to the booth and amazingly guess how much it was out of sync and have the projections rethread it, and it would work for 5 minutes and then blow out again. So we had to give everybody their money back because of the language and the interlock. We didn't have a preview, and I don't think we did another one. Robert Towne was involved in his reaction to what we were doing. The studio was not that involved. They just wanted to take it over. I think the way they released the film, they released it for like a week in December or something. They were about to get it Oscar qualified, but then didn't bring it back until April. So by then, any momentum had died out. I still think it's one of the better films I've ever been involved with. After we finished, the studio asked me to do a television version. Well, that was unheard of with that dialogue. And I said, I'll do a television version, but I'm not going to dub any dialogue. I'm not going to make friggin' or any of those things. I'm not going to do that. If you want me to do it through editing, I will, but I won't do anything. They said, okay. So I did it in editing, and I ordered a few prints of the soundtrack and intercut words and all of this stuff. And actually, it was a pretty good job, but it castrated the film. taking all that dialogue out just was not a good idea, but that was one of the things the studio had to deliver, an airline version and a TV version. So I thought by doing it myself and not allowing the aid any looping or dubbing, it would be better than having somebody else do it. I think what made Hal Ashby special as a filmmaker and as a person was, it sounds simple, but a search for truth, both in his work and in his relationships. I think his letting the camera run was a search for truth from his actors to see where they'd take it and what they'd give to him. It worked. I think it was a masterful way to go because he got performances that other people wouldn't get just by allowing them to explore their unconscious or subconscious. He also had a great sense of humor. He'd be giggling all the time, loved music. He was a very special person. He was one of a kind. There was a time in my career when I gravitated into screenwriting. I felt like I wanted to do something different than editing, and screenwriting was relatively close. Hal was one of the few people who would give me the chance, and he hired me to do several films. Not all were made, but the ones that were made were Bound for Glory, Coming Home, Being There. The only one I got credit on was Coming Home. I didn't get credit on Being There. Bound for Glory, I didn't get credit. Bound for Glory is probably the closest, has more of me in it than any of the others, because that one I was involved as an editor and as a writer. And Hal hired me as a writer to add humor to the piece and structure and develop characters that weren't developed. So I played a major role in that film, and I thought that's, along with Last Detail, it's one of my favorites. It deals with the Depression and the migrants who might be called immigrants at this point in time, and big agricultural firms, which might be called whatever, whatever we want to call them at this point in time. But that was an important film, and I really feel a lot of it is, there's a lot of me in that film. Several others that I wrote for Hal that never got made. I was about halfway through another screenplay with Hal when he got sick. He never got to read the final draft. I didn't finish. Well, he died pretty quickly once they diagnosed him. So it was kind of ironic. The film was a comedy about freezing people before they die so they can bring them back to life later. And it was ironic that we'd be working with Hal, who was dying.
Show me some moves, kid.
I screen selected scenes of The Last Detail for my students and try to explain some of the setups that Hal chooses, the editing that we chose.
Give him the spinner, kid.
So several times a semester I will look at selected pieces of that film, and it always holds up. It's always right there. The students love it. I can teach something out of it.
Watch out for the Indian, kid. Oh.
Working on that film changed my life and opened up a field for me. It kind of shaped my whole career after that.
Huh? Huh?
That was wonderfully done.
It worked. I tried to stay on my feet, and I did. It worked.